this webinar, you'll learn how to leverage our hometown's new AI tools to efficiently process lengthy YouTube videos of public meetings, such as city council or school board sessions. By creating time-stamped summaries that highlight key discussion points and decisions, it provides valuable resources for journalists and the public.
This is a kind of a short notice webinar we threw together here. We only announced it a couple days ago. We're going to be doing this more frequently over the next few months is my plan on Thursdays, just to kind of present what we're working on with these public meeting summaries. I'd love to hear, any feedback you have, Scott, on like how you currently cover public meetings, like school boards, city council, county council. How you're covering those things now, because the whole point of this app and this process or this pipeline is to help publishers cover those meetings, that maybe you used to cover, but don't cover anymore as much, or you can't get to every meeting. We're trying to come up with tools to use AI to kind of digest these meetings down, pull out the key information, create basically outlines of the meetings, and with timestamps that link to each point in the meeting discussion. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about does revolve around YouTube. So let me just start, actually, Scott, since you're on, I'll show you what I was working on for you. Cherokee County School District, I believe, is the one that kind of covers Gaffney.
We now call to order.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I found, the Gaffney live stream. We're really just working with YouTube channels right now. We are going to be able to work with other types of video, because a lot of these city council, oh, good. Yeah, thanks. A lot of these city councils, it just depends on the size of the city and all kinds of things I've noticed, but some of them only will upload like an MP4 to their city council website, and it's kind of hard to access. That's one thing we want to focus on, is making just the videos more accessible on YouTube whenever possible. But then on top of that, kind of breaking down the meeting and sort of creating an outline that goes along with the agenda that's available a lot of times before the meeting. Scott, you say in person at school board meetings with pen and paper, use their live stream from YouTube to fact check and review after meetings. Great. Yeah, this might be useful for you in the fact checking. So I'll just show you what I've done with this. This school board meeting, I guess, last month, you might recall going to this one. And so what I can do is just take the YouTube URL and plug it into this app. Now, I think I'll show you that end result in just a minute, but or that process in just a minute. I'm going to start with the end result, which is a meeting summary. I can maybe just email this to you really quick, just so you can kind of, I thought it'd be fun for every attendee to leave with like a meeting summary, kind of like a door prize, pure HTML. So it's kind of cluttered to look at, but the bottom line is this is a timestamp summary that the user can click around on these points to basically jump around the meeting, and it's chronological. It looks kind of like a meeting agenda, this final product that we have here, the summary, and it's got timestamps for every topic and subtopic. So I can just basically, when this becomes an article, and I'm going to show you like a finished product on this website I'll just show you some meetings from Utah that I've been doing locally. Basically, what I can do is click on the timestamps, and it just jumps to that point in the video. So I can first kind of read the overview of what happened at that point, or I can just scan for topics that interest me, and then I can jump right to it, kind of for that, fact checking that you were talking about. So, I mean, like the first thing that this accomplishes is it just finds the points in this hour-long video where topics are discussed. And again, all these topics are on the meeting agenda before going into the meeting. So, you might be primed to them, and you might, know that you want to look into that more. So that's kind of the idea, is like you can just start with the agenda. And I'm actually thinking maybe we could kind of turn your process or expand your coverage by by turning your process into like start with the YouTube meeting instead of going, you know, you don't have to go to every meeting in person. You could maybe, you know, just use this to as a guide for every, I mean, you know, like this looks like they report these school board meetings once a week, I think, or every couple weeks. You know, just to, as a time saver, it might make sense to, you know, use this kind of a tool to survey the meeting, identify the main topics, and then really, then you only need to spend time listening, you know, to the sections that you want to write about, I guess, is just my idea. And I don't know if that appeals to you, Scott, or if you still feel like you need to be there in person. I think either way, this type of tool could help you with the fact checking. Just, you know, I like to, I'm, it took a lot of time for us to get these timestamps to work. So, and just for a little bit of background, what we're doing is this app that we've created, it kind of has broken down a process that used to be very manual. When we first started processing our own internal meetings, we would give the transcript to a chatbot, and it would basically we would prompt it to give us an outline with timestamps. It took a lot of prompting back and forth to get it right. So what this app does that I'm showing you here, and we're hoping to get this open to a beta trial so that you can try it yourself, Scott, on whatever meetings you want. Right now, it is only, we only have this one copy available that only ops can use. So if you're interested in seeing more of your meetings summarized and just seeing what kind of results we can get, I'm going to be doing those for you right now. So I want to just offer that to you, you know, that we can kind of have a little bit of a back and forth here, but eventually you'll be able to come in here and put your own meetings in here, as many as you want, and just get, you know, as many transcripts as you need. So you say, love the timestamp idea and would like to use it. This tool would be valuable for live stream school board meetings. That's great. Yeah, I did a little research. Usually what I'll do is just type in like the city, Gaffney, South Carolina, you know, city council meeting. I didn't find anything for that. Seems like maybe you don't have the city council posting that yet. But yeah, if this is like, if there are other YouTube channels in your area, in the county, in neighboring cities that do post things, we could look at that. But I think it makes sense to start with the school board since you're already covering those, and we just need to, you know, kind of save you some time on the research. So I guess just to back it up a little bit here, I don't really have a structured presentation today because this thing is just evolving constantly. Essentially what you would do, and what I'll do for you initially, is just take any meeting. So if you wanted to just email me a meeting link for something that you saw that you want to see a summary for, we could start like that, or something along those lines. But let's say this one, that's a short one. I don't know why that's only 10 minutes. And this is a spelling bee, so I probably don't need that one. But school board, whoa, that's very loud for me. Let me just turn this down for a second and get past this. So what you do when you start using the app is take the YouTube URL, and this is going to allow us to create the timestamps. We need to have that URL somewhere in the input. And then you would take the outline, the agenda, if you have one for the meeting. It's always going to be helpful to put that in this field. You don't actually really need one, I've found, because what happens is the system figures it all out from the agenda or the transcript. And unfortunately, I didn't check this one. This is something that you get hung up with every once in a while. The YouTube videos don't always show the transcript. For some reason, they don't auto transcribe immediately. So I just went back another week here to the 13th, and I can show the transcript. This is kind of an awkward step right now that we're looking to get rid of, but you have to select the whole transcript and just drag and select it like that, copy paste it from here into the transcript area. So once you do that, and we're working on a way so that eventually you could just drop the YouTube link in there and it would just do all this. Right now, you need to manually do it. Then you submit the video. It takes you to this page that allows you to enter some custom topic instructions. So if there's like a specific topic that you know is going to be in the meeting, you could say, make sure that, you pay attention to this topic, or, go into great detail on this topic in the outline. And then it's going to feed in this custom instruction into this one step. As again, like we're used to dealing with a chat bot where everything is like a custom instruction and you're just going back and forth with it. But we've streamlined the majority of this process, the timestamping and the summary, in the app. So it's all programmed in there, and the prompts are all preset. But there are still times where you're going to want to custom prompt the meeting. So let me get back to this. This is the topics page where you can go in and change the timestamps. So like this is like kind of your QC page. And I'll be doing this for you initially just to make sure it's all looking good. But eventually when you use the tool, you could just, what you'll do is click on the timestamps and flip through the video. So and you can just quickly kind of QC like approval of agenda in minutes. Let's see what this timestamp actually has at it.
Their minds and hearts.
Sounds like a prayer.
4-year NFL veteran Dominic Stevenson, myself, and some of the people that have gathered here today. We would like to ask you to recommend and vote Tony Littlejohn as the next head football coach.
You can scroll down in the transcript to that 5-minute mark and see what they're talking about. It's really quiet.
Yeah, it's tough here. Yeah, this is a little bit of a live, very much a live demo for you, Scott. So I haven't done any meetings besides this one. So, yeah, you can run into issues when the audio is bad, and then because then that'll mean a bad transcript. And everything we do is kind of based on the transcript. It's using the transcript to come up with the topics and just understand what's happening in the meeting. Let's see if I can, how about maybe just like this one here. If I click on this main section.
And also remember that if it is off by 5 or 6 seconds, you can just update that timestamp.
Yeah, that's the main point. I should just
reflect
it. Superintendent report. Okay, let's see how this did here. I'm scanning. Is that below? Oh, here you go. So at 32 minutes, apparently it's the superintendent report.
Okay, see, this is a hallucination. I've been trying to fight this. You see how it goes from 12 to 14 to 20 to 40 and then back to 20? Or, it's not consecutive. Yeah, this is why I'm adding secondary models, because Anthropic has been having more issues like this, depending on the length of the meeting.
Okay, I got
you. You can go back and tell it to reduce the number of topics, perhaps, or just get it to go again. Okay, and be careful. But yeah, it's having some issues.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, we're kind of getting into some troubleshooting here. I do want to just like finish. I haven't really shown you how this works yet, and this is what I was just going to say. So, assuming this is roughly the right point in the meeting, but it's a few seconds off. That's what we were seeing a lot, Scott. Is it was in the rough part of the meeting, but it wasn't quite. It wasn't picking up the whole conversation. So sometimes you'd have to edit the timestamp to maybe go back to like 45 seconds. And then that would get like the full intro of the topic and, any background, because it's really a pain to edit the timestamps when they're in the URL format, because it's all based on seconds. You have to calculate 30 minutes is how many seconds. It's really annoying. So that's why we built this whole thing, so that if the AI is wrong, which it is sometimes off a little bit, it's rarely completely wrong, but it's sometimes just off in the time point a little bit. This is where you would adjust that. I don't have a lot of experience messing with the custom prompt here, in terms of generating the topic list, but like Chris just said, you could mess around with things like, I really only need like 5 topics in this meeting. I don't need 20 that we have here. So, because it's programmed to search for like as many topics as it can.
That's where the hallucination came in.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe we should look at that.
It doesn't know how many topics, and so it just keeps going and starts to get lost. Since there isn't an agenda, since you didn't actually give it an agenda with,
that's
scaffolding.
That's a good point.
It may have that may have let it off the rails a little bit.
Right. I should have done that for this live demo. So yeah, you're always gonna have more luck with that. And usually those are, as you know, I'm sure Scott, those are available on like the town site. So but let me just get to the last step here. And this is, we'll probably wrap it up here just for this intro demo today, because this is essentially what we're working with now. But to generate the summary is the last step. So once you've QC'd all these time points, it's important to QC it here because these are going to be used in the summary and you don't want them wrong at that point. So assuming you've updated all the time points and QC'd this, then you just say, turn this list of timestamps and topics into a summary. And it's going to flesh it out a little bit more. It's going to give you more detail on each of the topics and subtopics. Intro, it's kind of like a news article. And then, as you can see, there's just more detail under each of the topics and subtopics. So it'll get into, you know, who spoke, Dr. Rebecca Spence. It will provide quotes if there's a relevant quote, you know, to that topic. Not always, so that's a little bit of a unpredictability, but you could always sort of push it in that direction. So I could say, you know, include as many quotes as, let's see if I say it as possible. It might go a little overboard, but let's.
No,
just
that's
see.
okay. Go ahead. Yeah, it's already gone off the rails a little bit. So let's just have fun.
Let's test the bounds. So yeah, you can just talk to this. This is the coolest thing about it, Scott. You can just talk to this thing like you would a person. You know, you just like. You're working with an editor or a reporter and you see their first draft, you just talk to it in that custom prompt like you would want it to kind of make some tweaks. You don't need to be super specific. You see, all I said was add some more quotes, and it did. So it's got the speaker for each topic and subtopic. It looks like it's got the speaker, basically, you know, what they talked about, and then a quote that's relevant to that topic.
Oh, Matt, can we try that one more time, but ask it to provide timestamps for the quote?
That's great. Yeah. So please include,
because then you don't have to search through the transcript list to necessarily find it. It's be easier this way.
Timestamp.
Since it already knows what a timestamp is from the other portions of the prompt, I'm just curious if it'll do that without it being in a template or anything.
Right. Well, this is going to lead into some of the stuff
and
we've
I
been
would word that.
with.
Oh no, you already started. Sorry.
Well,
no,
what would you say? I can go back at when it.
Oh, I was just going to say include the timestamp for each quote. Maybe it'll get. Hopefully, it'll get that.
So yeah, it looks like it did. It did figure it out. It's not clickable, which because
we didn't ask it to.
But we just if you're just specific, and so yeah. This is honestly, Scott. A lot of this is brand new because Chris just released last week the custom instructions, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with it over the weekend because there is the custom instructions for creating an outline, but what we're seeing, and maybe you can comment on this, a lot of the publishers don't seem to be all that excited about publishing an outline like this because it's not, you know, the normal way their content's presented, but they would like to present as an article. So that's another thing that we can use these custom prompts for. I could, for example, I'll just keep it real general.
How about a quick shout out to the teacher of the month, like a 300-word shout out for the teacher of the month?
Yeah. So then you would just say, please write a 300-word, I always say newspaper styled article about teacher of the month. You know, I'll just
and include it after the summary so it won't.
Right.
Hopefully that way it'll keep it.
Pen to the end of the summary. Yeah, because that can throw it off. If you just say write a newspaper article, it's kind of confused because it thinks, oh, my main objective is summaries. Like I'm programmed to do summaries, so I guess maybe you want me to do this article instead. So if we want both, we just want to make sure we append to the end, save it. And you know, Chris, I've noticed when I go back to this, it's not saving it. Do you think we could save it? Like if I go to summary and then back to topics, this isn't saved.
I could add it,
could we add it?
to stay with the session if you'd like. Absolutely.
I think it would be helpful just because I keep losing it, and so what I just did now is just copied it just so I can save it. if we want to do it again.
We
But
haven't been using it long enough to kind of figure
I
out
know
exactly what's
it's
annoying about it yet.
it's not even a week old, and it's just like this one change, I think, is going to open up a whole opportunity for writing like just as many draft articles as you want. I mean, in theory, we could have this thing prompted to write an article, a short article about 5 different topics in this meeting. But here's the first one that we have. So local educator receives distinguished teaching award. You can read through this and just kind of quality control it. But at least that's like a newspaper article that even could go to the print edition from this process. So I'm curious, Scott, I want to pause there for a second and see what you think about the idea of using this to maybe write articles on top of just as a research tool for fact checking. I'd be really interested in your thoughts on that. And if I, while we're waiting to see if you have any comments, you could go back and just change it to like 500 word article. You could do things like make it about two different topics like that are maybe related in the meeting. Another thing we're looking at is trying to make connections across meetings. So the same topic is often brought up in multiple meetings. So if we could use this tool to basically refer to old meeting summaries as well as the current one, because
I was thinking about that,
this is the
Matt.
current one. Yeah.
Just as a kind of, how we low-hanging fruit hack away at a few things to see
Sure.
what works. Technically, you could just dump the summary from the other school board meeting into
right.
into
That's
the
what I'm
summary
going to try.
and then say, can you draw some insights between these two meetings, and just let the model kind of go outside of its template and see what it does.
What do you think would happen? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say one of the things I preempted with the custom instructions is I did specifically tell the model that if you get these instructions to give them higher priority than the rest of the prompt.
I can see that.
So we could squeeze some additional things out of it without too much more work.
Right. Another thing I was thinking about, I actually just tried over the weekend so there's this topic in Utah. It's the Weber Housing Authority, basically affordable housing that they're trying to build in Ogden, which is a city that I'm sort of covering with this tool. And so over the last 6 months, they've been talking about it in every few meetings. So I did an XML export for this, Chris, and then I was wondering if maybe we could have like a place to upload XML in here, just to kind of make it. Do you think that
it wouldn't necessarily have to be in any particular format? I mean, if you want to give it like extra context document, it would probably just be easiest to not include. Well, I don't know. If you warned it that it's XML and say, here, I'm gonna include a bunch of XML from some other summaries. Give these a look and include them however you want them included. The context window should be okay. And if not, as I said, as I add the other model alternative, the Gemini model could certainly handle something really big, like 20 meeting XMLs plus whatever your prompting is and things like that, without having to go through kind of hyper technical thing. Just dump it in there and let the model chew on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sometimes, at least initially. And I just want to read Scott's note here. School board meetings can last as long as 3 hours. The articles would be helpful in organizing and writing news stories. Yeah, the 3-hour meetings.
We've gotten, I think the max where it actually started to really break down was a 7-hour meeting that I was testing. But actually, they had a big intermission in the middle of that anyway. So technically, you could divide that up and then offset the timestamps or something. But we've gotten decent success all the way up to 3 to 4 hour, 5-hour things. Obviously, you won't get as much detail, but it can still handle the big broad strokes on those long meetings.
Right. Yeah, and so could you let me know when this is available? this app is available to use. I definitely will, Scott. If you're interested in the meantime, I say we just go back and forth. We can do it on email, or we could meet, have another meeting, and we'll do it not in a webinar, so we can troubleshoot the sound. I would like to just hear more about the kind of articles you write. I'll look at your site and see if I can find any examples from recent school board meetings, just to see what is the end product that we are trying to get to.
You can capture,
replicate.
You can actually feed some of Scott's articles in,
Right.
and
I'll do that.
and get a sentiment and tone, so
Right.
at least it can not deviate too far from what you would expect. Because sometimes it will just go into its training and use the word indubitably or comprehensive way too many times.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's got some weird quirks, and if once you do start using it, Scott, you'll see. This is I'm really excited about it because it just feels like it's very cutting edge, because we are constantly hitting these hurdles, but then we're overcoming them. Like, we just keep the pressure on, and this is just such a great tool to complement all of our other tools. We're putting the resources into it. So to answer your question, I think it'll be available in the next couple weeks, or maybe a month from now. I will definitely keep you on the short list of beta testers so that you could play with it yourself. But in the meantime, I will do some more research on these meetings and maybe put together a few example summaries of the school board, and we can just see what you think of those and see if those are useful, just as a starting point. Your primary
and
education. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And Matt, I was also gonna add that we are looking to basically, if someone wants to recreate the embedding of the videos on the site, we have ways of replicating that functionality too.
Right. So what he's referring to there is how the video is embedded at the top and it stays there. So like if you are gonna try publishing these summaries, or really anything with a timestamp in it, even if it's a news article, right? We're gonna want to have timestamps in the news article that go to that point in the video where the superintendent said that, so you could hear it straight from him and hear the whole context. But when you do have these timestamps, we want this kind of fixed video player at the top. We don't want it to be like a normal article where you can scroll away from the video. That's basically the difference there. So we could do some CSS and JavaScript on your site to make it work like that, but it won't work like that out of the gate. So that's a good note to make. But yeah, let's just stay in touch via email. I'm gonna probably spend some time today just looking at the school board meetings, and I'll send you whatever I come up with, Scott, and we can just kind of take it from there. But I really appreciate you joining us today and for all of your feedback. This has been really helpful. Sorry we couldn't hear you and speak to you, but this feedback in the chat has been wonderful. So I really appreciate it. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask, Chris, or anything else you wanted to point out before we wrap it up?
No, I this was, like I said, I've got the beta stuff is coming along. So partnering with engineering, I like that timeline. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's just a rough timeline, a few weeks to a month, but yeah, we're hopeful that we'll be able to hit that. So yeah, we'll put you on the short list for beta testers, Scott, and we'll be in touch. Really appreciate you taking the time to hear us out and your patience on some of the quirkiness. But again, it's so cutting edge. This stuff is going to happen. So, we just got to QC everything still. But I think, not a lot of people want to let go of that. Anyway, this is just going to be a tool for you to write things. It's not going to write things for you. We don't want to let the AI just run wild on the site. So, yeah, hopefully it will be a time saver for you. And, yeah, the video aspect is definitely good for people with short attention spans and stuff like that, multimedia. So, all right, well, we'll wrap it up here, and we'll be in touch with you shortly, Scott. Thank you very much, and thank you, Chris. I appreciate you jumping on, man.
Enjoy it as always.
All right, take care, everyone. We'll see you later. We'll be in touch.